pledge allegiance. Thank you. Roll call, Don.
Gables East first and second floor, Peggy Harris.
Here.
Gables East third floor, Dorothy Savigny.
No.
No alternate.
Yes, I'll give the report.
Oh,
Third
okay.
floor.
Gables East fourth floor, John Duradix.
Here.
Gables East fifth floor, Phyllis Schwartz.
Here.
Gables West first and second, Bob Case.
Here.
Gables West third floor, Judith Lackland. Here. Gables West fourth floor, Beverly Winslow.
Present.
And Gables West fifth floor, Ron Sharpless.
I'm here. Thank you. Okay, any, the previous meeting's minutes, are there any additions or corrections? If not, may I have a motion to approve them as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Favor, please? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good, okay. And let's see, we're gonna, a little later, we're gonna add a comment by Flagra from Bill. Okay, administrative report, Brian Hess.
Good morning, everybody. I'll take my mask off so you can hear me a little bit better. So, give you an update on our occupancy. So we are currently at 269 apartments occupied in our independent living. It's 349 residents. That makes it a 65% occupancy rate of the total 416 apartments. In November, we are estimating 6 move-ins, 5 move-outs. Those move-outs are 3 transfers to the health center or higher levels of care, 1 move-out, and 1 death for the month. Our skilled nursing currently at 95 out of 120, assisted living at 54 out of 76, and memory care 39 out of 48. One note on our skilled nursing, we are going to be changing our total available bed count come January 1st. That is something we have filed with the state already. We are actually going to convert 16 rooms to private rooms. We already have, Tammy, I believe it's 24 private already over there. So we're going to add an additional 16, which will put us to 40 private rooms in our skilled nursing. Those will be specifically for the short-term rehabilitation side. So it'll be a nice move for us. That'll give us a total available beds of 104 as opposed to 120. And that change again will be effective as of January 1. One follow-up item from last resident council, we had a question about some brooms and irons in the laundry rooms, and that there weren't brooms and irons in every single room still. So we have gone back through, Sheila's been working on an inventory count of those and has begun ordering those. But I would just please ask that if those are in there, please make sure that those stay in there. And if for whatever reason they break or something happens to them, please report that to the front desk so that we can replace it right away. They're not expensive to do that, but somehow those seem to walk out of there. We haven't really found that they're just broken, they're just not there any longer. So, irons, yes. All right, so just some updates from the management side. So COVID rates, not a lot to share. The state of Florida is kind of staying pretty constant. They're at 2.5% positivity still. Charlotte County is at 3.3%. We went up a little bit. We had actually been down to about 2.6% at one point, so it's trended back up over the last 2 weeks. We are currently COVID-free here on our campus, so that's excellent news. Excited about that. So it's been about a little over a month that we have had no cases on our campus here. The CDC COVID Data Tracker Community Transmission Detail Report, mouthful, that is currently showing Charlotte County as yellow or moderate, which means that we still have some spread of COVID here in the Charlotte County community. They haven't upgraded us to a good rating yet, which is the blue rating, so we're still yellow or moderate at this point. We are no longer testing our skilled nursing staff members and our skilled nursing due to the fact that we have seen an improvement in our transmission rates. So we have stopped the testing of the staff members. We worked through our LCS vaccine mandate policy. As you all recall, we kind of went through that in October. November 15th was our final date for folks that did not get vaccinated. They were terminated on November 15th officially if they were not fully vaccinated. There's been a little bit of a change. So if you've been watching the news, Governor Ron DeSantis in the last 2 weeks had signed in some new legislation that essentially said an employer cannot mandate a vaccine policy. And he had some caveats in that. And so we kind of paused our vaccine mandate process for a couple of days. That was effective as of the 18th of November, so we kind of stopped any additional terminations, things like that we're working through the process. We do have our LCS Human Resources and Legal team reviewing the governor's orders in the law in the state of Florida compared to the national requirement. So we do accept Medicare and Medicaid dollars here at Southport Square because of our skilled nursing. And with that, we are governed under CMS, or the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And CMS does require for employers to implement a vaccine policy, and that has to be implemented by December 6th. So that being said, we're kind of stuck between two laws at this point, the state of Florida and the federal level. It is kind of working through some appeals at the court level, and so we're waiting to see what occurs with that. But at this point, it appears that we will continue with our vaccine mandate policy here, and if anything changes, we will absolutely update you all as residents through this process. Staffing is still a little bit of a challenge for us across the community. We continue with significant recruitment efforts, including our job fairs, as well as some furthering partnerships with local teaching institutions. We were just meeting this morning to talk about a Charlotte Technical College breakfast that we're going to host here with some nursing students, about 30 plus nursing students, to bring them in here and show them what we do here at Southport Square. Would like to commend Vicki Barone on her recent promotion to Associate Executive Director. So Vicki, yes, absolutely. So Vicki, as many of you know, Vicki works very hard. She's here kind of long hours, working through a lot of stuff. She will continue to oversee all of the financial operations of our community, but in addition to that, she will also be overseeing the administrative operations side of it, if you will, of the dining services department. So Brenda will be rolling up to Vicki, and then to me. So really excited about some additional oversight, additional support, and guidance in that area. At the same time, we also had two leadership changes that took place recently. Scott Beamish, who is our Sales and Marketing Director, and Scott Smolinski, our Executive Chef. Both are no longer with us since the last 2 weeks. And so that being said, we are recruiting for both of those positions. We would wish both of those gentlemen well in their future endeavors. You will notice some changes around our campus. We recently had 2 new areas of stamped concrete poured. One right outside here. If you haven't seen it yet, you can pop your head out the back of Town Hall after this. But that is a new patio area that we had poured recently from a vendor that will allow us to have some open outside of cover area for seating, as well as additional seating for happy hours and other events that we do outside. At the same time, they also poured a little bit of concrete in the front of Gables West, where we kind of have all of our golf carts parking by that service area. We had to take out some trees that became a little bit of a hazard issue with trucks backing up there and residents walking out of the front entrance. And so we removed those bushes. You'll see those bushes have been gone for a couple of weeks now. And we've poured some cement there so that our golf carts can park a little bit more in an orderly fashion next to the service entrance there. Also, we have a vendor that is working in our garden currently. So for those of you that are in the garden club, you might have seen some folks out there. They are going to be replacing some of the wood trim around the garden beds, the lower garden beds, not the raised beds, but the lower garden beds, to restore those. And so we're hopeful. We do not anticipate that any of the plants will be disrupted that are in those beds, will be working around those, but they will be out there working through that. And then also, we have selected the landscaping for outside of Gables West as you come into the village area. So we've been working with our landscape vendor. That has been ordered, selected and ordered. We are waiting for those to come in and be installed. We are hopeful within the next few weeks you'll see some new landscaping in the back of Gables West there. A couple of updates on some projects. So the pool surfacing and pool deck replacement, we anticipate probably a February-March timeframe. We will be having to shut the pool down when we do that project, and we'll get notification out to the residents. We are waiting on the pavers to come in. That is a pretty long lead time for ordering those. And when we have an estimated date, we'll start to work on the timeframe for closure of the pool and how long it will be closed. The automated key fob exterior door project, almost complete, still awaiting those final fobs. Those are, again, on the slow boat from China. Literally, I guess, is where they're at. So we've been waiting on those fobs to come. That's the last piece. All the other work is completed. We just need the little fob access component. The assurance system, so we talked about the Gables East and Gables West assurance system. That's the system in your apartment that you pull the cord or push the button in the mornings. The work has begun on that. We have electricians here that are working on installing access points for the system. They'll be doing that in the hallways. It will not interrupt in your apartment yet. When we get into the install in the apartments, we will make sure that we notify you of that process and that time frame. We are still awaiting final approval from the county for permitting for our dock, and that's the 60-foot dock that will go in out on Eagle Lake in the front of the community. So that has been submitted. We are just waiting on Charlotte County to give us the final approval to move forward with that.
Brian?
And then, yes.
He called me this morning, he'll be here next week with a couple of zoning guys, and he anticipates the first of the year to start building the dock.
All right, so there you heard it. The most recent update, first of the year, sounds like they'll be working on building the dock, is what the time frame is. The Gables East renovation project, still in the designing and planning stages. We were hoping to have the work commence before the end of this year, and Gables East actually have boots on the ground here. We had a little bit of a changeover with the design company that was working on the design, and that is going to a new company. We're keeping all the design that's progressed so far, but it will be moving over for another company to finish the design work for us. And so we anticipate that it'll be probably right after the first of the year that we get the troops in here to be working on the building. I feel that was probably okay from, I really didn't want the work happening right in the middle of Christmas. So I felt that was okay to give them a couple extra weeks, but will give us the opportunity to get the new design company in place and make sure that we have the design finalized through our resident committee here. And the last thing, I just would like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I know this is always a time to be thankful, a time of reflection of our blessings, kind of looking back and remembering those that have enriched our lives. And I just couldn't think of better folks to be thankful for than all of you as residents here and our staff here. So thank you very much and happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you, Brian. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I have one.
John?
Concerning the garden area, what's the plan, or is there a plan for maybe some raised beds?
So Randy and I have been discussing some opportunities for some new raised beds. The vendor that we are using right now, we're going to see how they do out there. It seems like they're doing a reasonable job so far. They would probably be the vendor that we would utilize to build some additional beds. And so once they complete this project, we'll start talking about, we might have to replace some of the existing raised beds first, just to make sure that the wood there is still intact and in order, and then potentially look at some additional raised beds. So that is still on our radar to try and get a few of those raised up, but right now we just want to make sure that we have the wood that's there accurate and correct in solid wood. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, good. Moving on, we'll start with our 4 reports. Peggy Harris, Gables East.
Yes. First and second floors, Gables East, held their meeting on Wednesday, November 10. Brian has talked to us. We had a lot of good conversation with him. Details are going to be found in the printed minutes because we had a lot of conversation. We did talk briefly about Medicare, and we're going to look at a speaker in the fall. We addressed the question that Ron Sharpless asked about lack of participation in council and floor meetings. I assume that will be discussed later. We agreed to have no holiday event of any kind. We will not meet in December. There were no questions or concerns. Our next meeting will be January 12, 2022.
Okay, thank you. And Barbara, you're going to give the third floor report?
Yes, Dorothy unfortunately wasn't feeling well and asked me to give it. It's a short report. The meeting was held Thursday, November 18th. The area of concern that was expressed is the lack of progress in the renovation in Gables East, while other great improvements are being made on the property. They felt left out. The next meeting will be short during the third floor Christmas cocktail party on December 16th at 3 p.m. in the bistro. That's all.
John?
Sounds like it's on. Yeah.
We have no questions or concerns this past month. Our December meeting will be for floor decorations.
Am I on? Okay. We had 21 people in attendance. As I was unavailable to attend, Nancy Wachowski, my alternate, chaired the meeting. My sincere thanks to Nancy for all she has done in my absence. Mary Cover has volunteered to be our alternate representative on the Dining Services Committee. Susie McMillan announced a date for decorating our floor's main lobby for Christmas and welcomes all volunteers to assist. Because we will be having a holiday meal, and that is on December the 5th, we will not be having a December floor meeting. Our next meeting will be in January. As regards the holiday meal, because circumstances and difficulties are many throughout Southport Square and will continue, I am working with and trusting Brenda to provide us the most special dinner that she can.
Bob Weida, Harbor Health.
The Harbor Terrace meeting was held on November 18th in the social area of the third floor. David Reiser discussed the new hours for the dining room and included Thanksgiving Day. Would be Monday to Friday. Lunch and dinner will be served in the dining room, with breakfast delivered to the apartments. Saturday and Sunday, all meals delivered to the apartments. Thanksgiving Day, breakfast and lunch will be in the dining room, with dinner delivered to the apartments. There were no questions or concerns of housekeeping, maintenance, activities, and nursing services. Annual nominations and elections for the new president were conducted with yours truly unanimously voted in for a third year. Bob White accepted, and the meeting was adjourned at 2:48. Our next meeting will be December 7th at 2:30 p.m. in the social area. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob Case.
Thank you.
You heard me, didn't you?
Yeah.
Try this one. That one didn't seem like it.
Thank you. Sounds the same to me. Gables West first floor, their speaker was Bethany Mangan, Director of Innovative Health Services. There are 8 in attendance. There was 1 birthday, and I suggested that we hear it for the rep. Thank you. Now, there is nothing new on the missing toolbox. So my recommendation is, based on the time that we just, I recommend that we drop the issue. However, I didn't get an answer yet on whether the exterminator is escorted or not. How about, can that be answered right now? Randy, yes. All right, thank you, sir. Also, is the exterminator vetted?
What do you mean by that?
What do you mean by vetted?
That would be some kind of or a degree of background track, wouldn't it?
So all of our vendors follow a normal process when they come in. They have to go through a vendor check through our AccuShield system, which asks them for all kinds of stuff. They have to prove that they have had the shots that are necessary, things like that, to be here as a vendor. And so we do have a check on every single vendor that comes into our community through that process with our AccuShield system. That is maintained by AccuShield. So when you see the people checking in the lobby area,
Everybody awake?
see if this, oh, there we go. I think I've become a little bit too good at the AV side of things since COVID took place. But anyway, so they are vetted through that process in that AccuShield system. So when a new vendor comes in, they have 30 days to get all of their information into AccuShield, the company. If they don't get it, then they will be denied access to our community. So they are vetted through that process, and we do escort the pest control company.
Thank you very much. The second floor, Gables West second floor, we had a speaker, Sheila Dennis, Director of Environmental Services. There were 9 in attendance, and somewhere else in writing is the answer about the new system for us folks letting the front desk know that we are up and about. I think that's all I have at this time. Thank you for the opportunity to report.
Okay, sir, very good. Judith Lackland, third floor.
Okay, oh, I do sound, all right. Meeting of the Gables West third floor was held on November 19th. We devoted the meeting to deciding on our Christmas dinner. Our date will be December 21st. And there were no issues to be presented for council.
Beverly, fourth floor.
Our meeting was held on November the 11th. 17 were present, and I was not there. Eric Mueller was our representative. Brenda Duvall was our speaker, and we gave her a wonderful job on the 34th anniversary party. She's explained many issues facing management in the dining room with food delay and short staff. Also, the manager for East, Gina, will be leaving. Brenda also announced our Christmas dinner this December can be held in the dining room. Marilyn Hill will be the chairman. All committee reports were given. Election of fourth floor committee members for 2022 was completed. A work order was placed to repair wall damages in the fourth floor trash room. Don will be contacted to determine if the Southport Square council minutes can be sent to residents via email. Several apartments do not use the laundry room, therefore they do not read the minutes. Our next meeting will be December 9th in the card room at 10 a.m. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you. Fifth floor, Gables West, and our meeting was in the game room. Started at 10 and finished at 11:20, with 27 residents in attendance. Brian Hess gave an informative talk on Medicare and said that those with remaining questions could speak further with Vicky Barone, Carrie Kibbe, or himself. Nominating committee presented a slate and unanimously approved, followed with the usual committee reports. June Wansley and Joanne Hafenbridle met with Brenda DeVia to discuss Christmas lunch, which is set for December 22nd. The council meeting was reviewed, including occupancy levels, noting that independent living had dropped to 270 apartments. The statewide FLAGRA meeting, held by Assume, had over 400 attending. Monthly maintenance increases had a 4% median for 2022. It's expected to be above 4.5%. A question was raised indicating that 90% of spending went towards attracting new residents and 10% on residents' issues. Leading Age Florida responded that residents are the best spokesperson and marketers for their CCRCs. If the residents are not happy, marketing will suffer. Next meeting will be December 8th, 10 a.m. in the 4th floor game room. Comments, sir?
No, I don't believe I have any comments. I think the FLAGRA information, so when they talk through median rate increases, things like that, so that's taking all of the state of Florida CCRC communities. So you're obviously going to have some that are going to be higher, some that are going to be lower in those rate increases each year. So that is a polling, and it's good data to look at, and always a nice organization to be a part of.
Moving on, activities, John Dorotix.
Okay, December is a busy month, everybody knows. SMED always has a lot of activities. I'm not going to go through all of them. December 1st, we're starting off with a holiday bazaar. And all of this stuff, you're going to get further information. December 6th, there's going to be a garden party. On the 8th is the tree lighting in the village area. The 14th and 15th, there is a bus lighting tour. On the 22nd, we're going to try it again, pancake breakfast. We need you folks to come out, participate, and we need cooperation through dining. The 31st is the New Year's Eve party, and the Gold Tones will be here. Again, please, because it's such a busy month, please pay attention to the flyers you receive and the weekly schedules.
Thank you, John. Dining, Judith Lackland.
Okay, our meeting was held on November 12th, and as far as old business goes, there was a reminder that residents who were eating in the dining room for dinner need to be mindful of reservation times, because our staff are students who need to be out by 7:30 in the evening. Therefore, the dining room has to close at 7 p.m. So, in other words, if you're coming in at 6:45, not a good idea. You're not going to get anything. Residents have to be reminded, once again, put their names and the meal pickup time on your menus. Let's see, again, people have to be reminded the items on the left side of the menu, and it doesn't make any difference whether you're eating in the dining room or if you're doing takeout. Those items are cooked to order, and you're going to have to wait until they're done. So if you're going down to pick up your food and you have to wait, that's why. For new business, if residents plan to have a Christmas dinner or lunch, the floor representative should meet with Brenda as soon as possible to reserve a date. So if you haven't done it already, the time is getting short. The menus for the meal will be available the week of November 22nd. Brenda once again explained that due to various shortages experienced during these pandemic days, the availability and cost of menu items as well as packaging, it's not only food, it's also the packaging, and that remains a challenge. So it is imperative that those of us who get our takeout meals in the green containers to clean them and put them in the bins so that they can be recycled. There also is difficulty getting styrofoam. So even though you will be getting things in styrofoam, the containers may look a little bit different, particularly for soup and some desserts. Let's see, again, residents who take out meals, they are cautioned, do not let food sit in the dining room because it's going to spoil, and at home, the same thing. Just be sure you refrigerate any meals that you bring into your apartment, and you're not going to eat them right away. Put them in the refrigerator and then reheat them later. And by reheat, that means using the reheat setting on the microwave, not the cook setting, because if you use the cook setting, you're going to get a very unpleasant looking and tasting meal. The reheat setting will be fine. And if you don't know how to use that, please ask somebody. And that's really all I have.
Okay. Dawn, do you have anything on housekeeping?
I do.
Want to give us a brief report?
The service review results have been tabulated, and I guess this was a meeting, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared to brief this, it's a very long report. During the period when COVID restrictions were implemented, there was a reduced service. Now some housekeepers continue those reduced processes. Sheila will stress to them that full service is now the norm. French doors were a common issue. Dusting furniture does include bottom and sides. Dusting does include wiping cabinet doors and backsplashes. Vacuuming closets and apartment laundry rooms will be done if the door is left open and the personal items removed from the floor. Housekeepers may not open doors or go through personal items. Cats and dogs do cause pet hair in the apartment, some to an extreme, and cat litter to be tracked throughout the apartment. To reduce impact, owners can comb their pets periodically to reduce the shed hair. Housekeepers will do their best. Time taken to clean an apartment was commented on by some in the survey. Typically, 30 to 45 minutes is plenty to be able to provide required services. This is due to apartments being different sizes. There is no set time period for the housekeepers in an apartment. Sheila performs housekeeping cart audits. Each housekeeping cart is required to have a specific tool, cloth, mop heads, and chemicals to ensure that they have what is needed for cleaning different surfaces without having to run back to the storage area repeatedly. This is intended to promote efficiency. During the last audit, a number of issues were found, and these will be an educational opportunity at their next housekeeping meeting.
Thank you. Fire and safety, Bob Case.
Thank you. This committee met on November 17th, and my floor reports were short, but this report will not be short. So bear with me. The width of the road circling Southport Square was discussed. Even though it is tight for traffic plus walkers and bicyclists, Randy said that any widening of the roadway was probably not going to happen. The question of filters in the wood shop came up again, and Randy said he would follow up on those. Additionally, the electrical needs of the wood shop were addressed, as it is the machine cords won't reach the current outlets, and even if they did, they are not enough outlets for all the machinery. This means the equipment is currently plugged into power strip extension cords. The operators try to run only one machine at a time when multiple machines are plugged into the strips. But the strips aren't designed for that much electrical pull. Randy will look at the circuit box and see about running more independent lines from the box directly to the equipment. Then Randy has an electrician in to do when he has an electrician in to do other work, he will have the electrician run more lines with better outlet locations. The problem of a South Court Square street light that shines directly into end units on Gable's East G wing was brought up again. In other areas where this has been a problem, the light globe has been blacked out on the offending side to stop the light. Randy will see if this can be done to the light causing the problem for G wing residents. New business, the question of when the outside lights of the common areas come on was brought up. Some of our lights are on photosensitive switches, but others are on timers. Now that it gets darker earlier, some of the timers need to be reset. Randy will identify those lights and timers and correct the problem. All the safety devices other than the pull cords in all the apartments of Gables East and West are scheduled to be replaced. The pull cords will remain. The push-button units that must be pushed in the morning will be replaced with motion sensors located in the master bathrooms. Randy said that it is not the logical spot for some residents, and the detector will be placed where it will be activated when the residence is moving in the morning. The smoke detectors will also be replaced. Our current detectors are hardwired to a central location. The new detectors will be programmed to each specific apartment and will send a signal identifying that apartment to a central monitor. The question was asked as to how to clean the sprinkler heads without setting off the apartment sprinklers. How sensitive are they and can they be touched? The sprinklers are activated by breaking the small glass vial in each sprinkler. Randy said that the glass vial is delicate, but the heads can be lightly and emphasized lightly dusted using a very soft bristle brush. If you do not clean them, please take care if you damage the glass vial. Randy said do not use the air spray cans for cleaning dust from computer keyboards because the compressed gas is not used to clean the sprinkler heads. On a personal note, you may want to put in a work order to have your sprinkler heads cleaned. Mine are very dusty, but it makes me very nervous to even touch the heads. That's not me writing that. Randy is aware that everyone is waiting for the outside entryway doors to get their key fob activated, switches installed. He said that, like everything else these days, the parts needed are en route, but distribution is delayed. Pardon me. As soon as they arrive, they will have an electrician begin installing them. As a side note, Randy mentioned one door in West Gables has yet to get its inside press button installed. They are waiting for an electrical line to be run to the door in question. Thank you very much.
Finance, Peg Gorman.
Hello, again. The independent living count this is an October report, so we're always about a month behind. The independent living count was 18 units above budget, which is very positive. which indicates that their independent living revenue was above budget. They are looking to see some down payments and for new residents coming in, as was discussed, number of move-ins coming forward. Assisted living and memory care were both well below budget, resulting in their revenue also being below budget. In general, we are, of course, in a loss position for the year. Wages and benefits were over budget due to recruiting and retention expenses and the need for contract nursing. And we will have this situation going forward as we have staffing needs. Food and beverage costs are still over budget, and because food costs have increased dramatically, as if you've noticed in any news or whatever, even for Thanksgiving turkeys and what your Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost, if other than here. But here too, we're paying more. And also for the food to go containers from the dining rooms, those things have to be ordered because not all of them are recyclable. And as long as we need to do that in combination with the higher food costs, you know, the food budget is going to be over. Skilled nursing expenses were over budget due to flu shot costs and COVID expense purchases to meet the care standards. And that's doesn't sound terribly cheerful, but that is the report for October.
Thank you. Additional special committee reports. Bill Deacon, you wanted to talk on FLICRA.
Yes. Southport Squares. Are you okay? Southport Square FLICRA chapter will be holding its annual meeting in the town hall at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, December 8th. This year we have a few new board members to elect and will be showing a recently released video being used to promote FLICRA to new residents of CCRCs. You'll be hearing more about it as the date approaches.
Thank you. Other special reports. The latest information I've seen on the Employee Appreciation Fund was that they had collected $87,500, which was way, way below the idealized budget of $140,000. So we certainly hope we can do better next year.
I do have a question.
Okay.
The question I have is when you're talking about the goal, is that for, let's see, we're at 65% occupancy rate. Does that take into account that we are not at 100%?
I don't know for sure, but I assume that it does. Now, maybe we can get a report from Henry for next month's meeting.
I don't think it does.
I do know that 140 budget has been about the same for, I think, about the last 3 years or so, something like that.
And we've come closer to meeting that in this year, and part of it may have to do with fewer people.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear what you said. The residents, people on the floor can't hear what you said.
Okay, part of the problem may be the fact that we have fewer people to donate. There's always a part that some people have been less generous than perhaps they have in other years, or newer people may not be aware of the fund and what it does, you know, as well. So we will have to work on publicizing that, I think, more after the new year. Right now, of course, it's closed. Any donations that come in will go to next year.
Okay. And I might add, it would be helpful if at the floor meetings that this would be discussed on a regular basis, okay? The scholarship fund, there was an appreciation to the estate of Lynn Scott for a contribution to that fund. Landscaping, a couple of important things. One, saying more tall palm trees will be cleaned out top and bottom, and it was requested that the top of trees that block residents' views be cleaned out, and I believe that's in the process. Good. Moving on. Health news. I think we can include that in the minutes for. Okay. All right. And unfinished business, residents' council shortages. For a long time, we've had no representative from the second floor, Gables East and Gables West, which means, in effect, those people lose a vote on the council. So we also, we haven't had a secretary and a housekeeping reporter. So I'd just like to just go around, any thoughts by council members on what we might do to improve that situation? Beverly, start with you. Do you have any thoughts?
Not really, and I think I did have a representative on fire and safety at the meeting.
No? Okay. Peggy?
Bill Beck.
First and second floors voted to combine, so that's a little bit different from Bob Case representing two separate floors. We try to have people representing from both floors to balance out, but there is one less person present on the council. What we did was take a look at occupancy, so the fifth floor in Gables East is 93% occupied. Fourth floor, 71% occupied. Third floor, 68% occupied. Second floor, 47% occupied. And first floor, 55%. The total for our building is 67%. So that gives us a sense of the top two floors represent 81.7% of the population to take a look at for our first and second floors. The average age of residents moving in 2020 is 80. 2021 it is 83. So between low occupancy and between ages of people who have come in to be retired, I think we need to rethink a little bit perhaps how we're doing things. Perhaps we can get loaner residents from floors with larger occupancy to help those floors that have less occupancy. Maybe a little bit of flexibility in how we look at people. We've had some really good written reports. Maybe that would help council members not have to attend those meetings. It's an additional meeting. The writing of the reports have been really good. If they don't like to speak to the group as a whole, then a council member can read, but we can reduce what it is that we ask of existing floor representatives. Those were, let's see, what else did we come up with? I think that pretty much covered some of the brainstorming that we did.
Judith, do you have any comments?
Well, I think I'm fortunate in that all of our different committees are staffed. However, it's becoming more apparent that I've got the floor rep job for life and I don't plan to keep that. So I'm trying to cultivate interest in taking my place on the council, to let me have a day off every now and again. But, you know, it does become difficult in that many of the people who are residents are disabled in one sense or another and unable to take on this job. Others have come here to retire, to play golf, to enjoy themselves, and are not interested in being on the council at all. So I'm going to be thankful that I've got the help that I've got, but I'm going to start cultivating some of our new residents to see if they would enjoy doing this job.
Case?
Thank you. I don't have too much to add. I do recall back a couple of years ago, and this isn't related to the occupancy rate at Southport Square, it's related to the occupancy numbers on the respective floors. As far as Gables West was concerned, I remember a couple of years ago, we had set 67% of the floor attending meetings, and but that's dropped now to in the 30s. And as far as this Gables West second floor is concerned, they don't even have an alternate representative. So anyhow, I look forward to our upcoming meeting, which will be election of officers, and certainly any kind of job loaning is not indicated. These people are here to be retired and so on, but I would hope that we could stimulate a little more interest. I try to recognize new move-ins by placing a printout on their doors, welcoming them, and introducing myself. And I don't know if that's helpful or not. There's one apartment where the resident keeps changing the move-in date and so on, and I had previously put one of my signs up that was taken down. So anyhow, we'll keep trying, and that's all I can say. I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Okay. John DeRodex? Well, I'll get next to her. Should we have her opinion?
Okay. Most of the folks that I've had contact with are here to retire. They say, been there, done that. And I think that if people aren't interested in having a floor meeting or a floor representative, that's their choice. I mean, this is independent living. They're going to come and go. They're going to do what they feel like doing. And it's been my experience that no matter what organization it is, or what kind of a group it is, you're only going to have a small group that's going to take the initiative to be an officer or a committee member. People are just going to do what they want to do. And apparently, being a part of resident council is not that important to them. I think that the administration here does an excellent job in communicating with the residents, and I think that's all they're interested in. As long as they're kept up to date with what's going on, that's all they care about. And if they have any individual complaints, I think with Brian initiating the coffee chats again, that's going to solve their problems. I can remember back when we were redoing the bylaws, and we had discussions here, and we had a lot more people that were coming to the council meetings at that time. And about just a short distance into our conversations, I heard comments from the residents saying, knock it off. We're not here. You guys do that some other time. We're not interested in that. That tells you that they're retired. They don't care. As long as Brian and the administration keeps up with the information coming out, they're perfectly happy.
Phyllis, you have your view?
I'm very fortunate. I'm very fortunate on the. No? Better? Yes. I'm very fortunate on the fifth floor east. The residents are very active and they're very eager to participate in all kinds of things. I never have problems with getting committee reps and alternates. However, in terms of the council, I think that when we have minutes distributed, and every time we get our minutes, I distribute copies to the residents, so they all see the minutes, and I think that's sufficient. I think that's all they really want to do. They don't want to have to sit here, but they do want to know what's going on. I think if we could try to have the issues that we discuss here are all in the minutes. I don't think we have to repeat them here. If they get the minutes, they don't have to sit through a meeting. So if we could kind of try to shorten what we're doing here and let the minutes speak for themselves, I think we might generate more interest in the council. Not necessarily get people to sit on the council, but to know what's going on, excuse me, in the council.
Okay, good. My fifth floor, and we have a comparatively speaking high residency rate. I think we've only got a couple of empty apartments. Our last meeting we had 27. That actually, though, in line is down with the way it was before the pandemic hit, where we used to average well into the 30s. That's what I think I've seen is with the advent of the pandemic that the turnouts are down from what they used to be. I think it's something we ought to continue to discuss, and possibly something to be considered could be to form a committee to discuss our residents' council and what we do, and maybe come up with some changes. So it's something to continue working on as we move into the future. The last thing, Dawn reminded me to the floor reps, as you get the results of your votes and who's going to be on, would you please make sure that Dawn gets a copy, and she'll have a whole list put together. If there's nothing else, the meeting will be formally closed, and we can now turn it over to any questions that you, the residents, may have. Anybody got any? Heidi?
Thank you. On behalf of the Garden Club, which I represent, I would like to thank Brian and Randy very much for the improvements of getting the bed surroundings done, and we're still hoping for some raised beds, and as Brian mentioned, that they would like to get the contractor that's presently working on the surroundings to bring in an estimate maybe for raised beds. That would be so much appreciated, because as the members of the Garden Club get older, the bending down and getting up from low beds is getting more and more difficult by the year, and we really would appreciate that. We also were waiting still for some concrete work in front of the garden house, but as promised, and hopefully we get that done, because it's very difficult to get from the garden house level down to the planting shed, and so we would like to have that done as soon as possible. We have one request, maybe could be related to Randy, that we need some cleaning up in the far corner where the compost thing is. There's a huge branch hanging over, and that needs to be cut down. Also, we're very thankful the Garden Club is holding together wonderfully. I also would like to thank John Doradix for putting the work in for us, and the work that the gardeners are doing and the master gardeners that are coming to help us keep the garden going is a great support. And we also thank Smita for all her support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi. So I will say that the Garden Club, first and foremost, the garden is beautiful. If you haven't been out there lately, take a stroll through it. It is gorgeous. But the concrete work is still in the works. So the vendor that poured the concrete out here in front of Gables West was not the same vendor that's doing the other concrete work for us. So it's actually two separate vendors that we had doing that work due to the way that the contracting all works. So they will be back to finish. They're going to do the concrete work in the garden area, as well as pour the sidewalks for the tennis and pickleball courts.
Any other questions from the audience?
I don't need one. Just to thank you, not only to Smita and Brenda for all the anniversary work they did, but every director and person who came that night to be part of the fun. It was so evident that we had so many people here doing work for us, and it was a great evening to remember. Thank you all.
Thank you. On behalf of all the directors, we had a blast, and thank you all for coming out because it made it a lot of fun for us. Thank you.
Thank you all. By the way, next meeting will probably